Back for another edition of In the Huddle. Carl Dukes put him up along with my man Jason La Canfora and, of course, Brian Baldinger, part of this podcast as well, guys, as we talk all things NFL. And there are more injuries to talk about. There's more craziness to talk about. And then this week, we're going to find out a little bit more about maybe some of the contenders. But let's talk about what happened this week. And let's start last night, Jason. Jags thought they were going to go into this game and roll Cincinnati. No Joe Burrow. And here's Jake Browning. I mean, where'd this guy come from? He looked amazing last night. But the big news, obviously, is the injury to Trevor Lawrence. How does this affect the Jags' chances now of not only winning the division, but also their playoff hopes?
Yeah, I mean, this result is pretty seismic, I think, because again, if we just look at the AFC in a week where Pittsburgh lost its starting quarterback, Denver's winning streak ended, the Browns were game with Joe Flacco, but they didn't win, and I don't know how many more games they're going to win. The Colts survived against the Titans in overtime, but we know they have their flaws. If I'm Cincinnati, I'm thinking, hey, we're playing with house money. Everybody wrote us off. Like, this quarterback is more frisky than anybody might have thought. And what I liked about it is Zach Taylor has clearly embraced this situation, and he's playing balls out football. And they're going for it early in that game. He's not worried about just playing field position. Like, he's empowering people, and he's saying, okay, we've been dealt a bad hand. Let's try. It looked to me like they were having some fun. Like, they were kind of unencumbered, Like, you look at a guy like Jamar Chase, and he's not out there pouting about what could have been for his numbers and his season without Joe Burrow. He's out there busting his ass, making plays for this Browning guy. So, I don't know, man. Like, I think it really just is another, like, swivel point, right, where this whole AFC thing gets spun around on its axis another 180 degrees, because Jacksonville, a lot of people thought, certainly the betting markets, thought they would win handily, maybe even coast a little bit in the second half, right, and be able to rest some guys. And they've got Baltimore coming up in a couple weeks, and Jacksonville had an inside. The talk of that game was Jacksonville now could control its own destiny to be the 1 seed. I don't think that's in the cards now, and we'll learn more about Trevor Lawrence's injury, but that wasn't, a boo-boo. That looked to be pretty serious, and him even missing a game or two for them and where they thought they could go, possible 1 seed, I think will be tough. CJ Beathard's been around a long time. He's been in that system for a long time. So I don't know that he's going to be awful. But, Carl, I don't know how good they were with Trevor Lawrence. Like, they were really good at winning football games, right? They went into last night. They had won 14 of their last 18 regular season games with Trevor Lawrence as their quarterback and Doug Peterson as their head coach. But he wasn't having a great season. None of their receivers were having a great season. The tight end didn't score a touchdown until last night. Travis Etienne, yards per carry, not great. Touchdowns, not great. And defensively, lately the pass rush had been great. It wasn't great against Browning last night, but they're just kind of a middling team. They're not special at anything. And then you take the quarterback away, I think it throws the AFC South completely wide open. I mean, if you're the Colts or you're the Texans, you're saying we're not just worried about fighting for a wild card. We're thinking we might get a home playoff game. We could win this division. Jacksonville only has 1 division game left, Week 18 against Tennessee. They're 4-1 within the division. So we'll see. Houston right now is 1-2 in the division, right? They're probably thinking, well, if we can sweep Tennessee, if we can beat Indianapolis Week 18, we might still be able to win this thing at 4-2 in the division. Tennessee plays Jacksonville Week 18. Could they do everybody a favor by beating them? Or does that tiebreaker not even matter because Jacksonville just doesn't win that many more football games? It's going to be fascinating. But that division, to me, all of a sudden has become really interesting. And I would also say, like, don't completely write off the Cincinnati Bengals. And that defense wasn't great last night, but they've got pieces on offense, and this quarterback is not Like, I think he's only going to get a little more steady week after week. Yeah, he has his limitations.
Yeah.
But if nothing else, Carl, Cincinnati's going to beat another team or two along the way that they probably shouldn't. You know what I mean? That they're not favored to, because I think this loosey-goosey why not us thing is very real for them.
Last night, Browning got the ball out after that first couple of series. It was almost like a switch clicked. And he was getting it out and getting it to those playmakers you're talking about, Chase, Higgins. If he can do that, Mixon can run the ball, they're going to be all right. I mean, like, I'm with you. I don't think it's completely over. I don't know how many of the better teams they're going to beat with the remaining schedule, but I kind of feel the same way you do. And here's the other thing about the Jags, Jason. Remember, they're 5-0 on the road, but 2 of those were overseas, right? They stayed over there, and it was almost like, okay, so I don't even know about their road record being real in the sense that they've gone on the road and really challenged teams in a tough environment because 2 of those games are overseas. So I'm with you about the Jags as far as how good they are. I know their record and where they are currently. But I got to tell you, the way the Texans are playing, and let's get into this a little bit because we've talked about C.J. Stroud and what this is for him this season and what awards he's going to win because it's a wrap as far as rookie, offensive rookie of the year and all that stuff. But I feel like they can make a run at this thing, to your point, just because it seems like they know how to be in these games, and then it comes down. I think their last 4 games, Jason, have come down to the last series, whether it was them driving or last week where they had to hold the Broncos, and they did.
Yeah, it really goes back to the game that they won at Cincinnati, which is part of the reason I feel pretty good about them at the Jets this week. They do have a road win outside of a dome and a little bit of, it was at least cold-ish weather. I still kind of need to see about them in December a little bit, at least personally. The defense, still gives me some pause. And yeah, you had the Stroud comeback on the Bengals after he threw the interception. You had them hold off the Cardinals. You had the long field goal that hit the upright and bounced out right for Jacksonville to beat Houston. And then this week you had defensive stand against Russell Wilson and the Broncos at the end, where it's interesting because Russell had been great in the fourth quarter and the Broncos had been great in the fourth quarter. And I wondered about that young Texans team in that tight spot, now favored against a pretty good opponent, against a veteran opponent. And they pulled through. Russ threw 3 interceptions, which is very unusual for him and out of character. And that was the difference in the game. Stingley's playing his backside off. Anderson gets pass rush when he has to. I still look at that defense, and it does give me a little bit of pause. But for them to be in this situation is pretty nuts. I don't know that anybody could have predicted this. And I really think they need to get Dalton Schultz back. ASAP. Losing Tank Dell for the season is a big blow. And I know he'd been in and out of games recently, and they had been overcoming that. But for him to be gone now, like what Nico Collins did in that football game was nuts. Like, I got to think people are going to look at that film and say, over our dead body. You know what I mean? Like, you're not just going to be able to run. You're not going to be able to run your passing game through one guy against us. Like, sorry, that's not happening. We need to see more than that. And I'm a bit of a dinosaur. They had a 2-game stretch, including that game against the Bengals, where they ran the ball really well. Outside of that, they can't run the football. And I think they have to find a way to be a little more balanced. Jacksonville, not a great rush defense, shut them down. I do wonder about that a little bit. Denver, horrible, worst rush defense in the NFL. Like, did a pretty good job of shutting them down. We'll see. This Jets game is going to be fascinating to me. This might end up being like 10-9. Like, they're favored by 7 against a good defense on the road. In December, the early weather forecast doesn't look terrible, but I do think like that's going to be a test for them. And if they go in without their best or second best receiver and without their tight end, and their inability to run the ball, with that Jets defense, they're going to put sauce on Nico Collins, probably with a safety over the top. They're going to generate some pressure against that offensive line with that group on the road. Like that's going to be that's a tough little game for me. Like if Houston could win that game and win it somewhat comfortably, that I think would be a little feather in their cap, because they have been better, like most teams are, right, at home than on the road, most young teams especially. But that was a huge win over the Broncos. I mean, that was a huge win, and they do seem to have a flair for winning those Alcoa can't wait fantastic finish games. Are you familiar with that reference? Did I date it? Is that too old for you? I get a little worried to go there these days. Yeah.
Well, you know what? When you say things, you almost have to explain it in this day and time. It's almost like when I say things on the radio show, it's like, oh, let me explain what I'm talking about, because I know you might not get it. And it sounds offensive when you say that, but people don't read anymore, Jason. They don't pay attention to stuff.
Yeah.
Jason Canfora, guys. It's In the Huddle pod on YouTube. You can check that out. Would you want to add something to that?
No, just that's how we used to get our highlight. They'd show highlights of other somebody would win a game the previous week on a last-second play, and if you lived in Baltimore City and didn't have cable, and all you had was your 3 regular channels, you would not probably see that play until the following week. Where at the 2-minute warning of your game, they'd show like recent highlights of games that ended quickly, and it'd be like, here's our Alcoa. Was like the people who sponsored it, and it'd be like, here's the Alcoa fantastic finishes from last week. You're like, oh wow, that's how that happened. Cool.
Yeah, before we had all
there
the
was
highlights.
No internet. Yeah.
No. Hey, I want to ask you this. I'm looking at their schedule. I'm talking about the Bills. Okay, they lost to the Eagles, and we'll talk more about the Eagles 49ers game and if we really learned anything in a second. But I'm starting to think the Bills may not make the playoffs, man. I mean, they got the Chiefs. They're at the Chiefs, right? Chiefs are coming off of this loss against Green Bay. Then they play the Cowboys. The Chargers are a mess, but you still got to go out west. And I don't know what that means. And we'll see in 2 weeks or 3 weeks when that happens. The Patriots, and then you finish the season at the Dolphins. And I'm just saying, there's a chance they could lose 3 of their next 5, Jason. And I don't know if they get in the playoffs here in the AFC. So I just saw this. I was just thinking about it today as I was taking a look. Bills, Chiefs. The Chiefs are pissed off about losing the way they did at Green Bay. They're at home on Sunday. You believe they're going to make it?
I think they are. And I think they're going to beat the Chiefs.
Sunday?
I mean, I do. They're coming off a bye. I know the Chiefs have been better at home than on the road, and I know that the Bills have struggled on the road. But dude, the Bills have scored 66 points in 2 games since they made the coordinator change. Like I'm looking at a guy like Cook. He's over 100 scrimmage yards 3 straight games, right? Like I think they know what the equation is, right? It's get the ball in Cook's hands out in space, and then they alternate him, Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside with Latavius Murray. Like Latavius Murray's going to get his 10 carries. They're going to get the ball in Cook's hands 20 times. A lot of those are going to be high percentage passes. The intermediate passing game will be run through the tight end. And I think Josh Allen's going to run the ball over 10 times in this game. His last time out, 9 rushes, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Eagles, right? Like,
and they need him to do that.
They need him to do it. Coming off a bye in a must-win game at Arrowhead against the Chiefs defense that struggles a little bit against mobile quarterbacks, and a Chiefs defense that doesn't have that many obvious blemishes, except they're 28th against the rush. I think it's a 3-headed monster rushing attack. And I think Kansas City probably counters with a lot of Pacheco. I mean, part of me thinks it's an under game, but part of me also thinks, even with all the running, it goes over. But I think Josh Allen will be asked to be Superman in this game. And if he can limit the interceptions to 1, if he can limit it to 1 turnover, I think the Buffalo Bills have a script to beat this Kansas City football team. The dirty little secret about the Chiefs is Andy Reid don't want to play from behind. That's one thing you can get away. You can get away from it. You can get away with it at the Raiders, but he doesn't want to play from behind against a team that can score points because he wants to stay balanced and he wants to work the clock with Pacheco, and he needs to get himself into third and manageable, because third and long with this group of jamokes outside of Kelsey just ain't going to cut it. So I think this is it. I mean, this is it for the Bills. If the Bills come out of the bye, they win this game, Josh Allen looks like an MVP, and he has the last couple of weeks, then I think they're alive and they're dangerous. And I look at their schedule and say they could go on a tear. But it has to start with this game. And I think it will. Because, I mean, as much as they're running the ball, they've still scored 66 points in the last 2 games.
Yeah, it's a great point. It really is. And look, we all talk about the spark when you fire a coordinator and what happens. But you said it. I mean, this is kind of simple math. This wasn't hard. They just weren't doing the things they needed to do. And now it seems like they are. It's one of the games that I'm looking forward to coming up. But the Bills just as a whole, and if they've made this turn, Jason, you're right. Then they're going to go on a run. They'll be in. They'll win, I'll say 3 of those 5 remaining. But I just wonder if they can continue to put it together. It's in the huddle, guys. It's Carl Dukes along with Jason Canfora, Brian Baldinger, part of this podcast as well. Check us out, subscribe, like us, and tell your friends. Let's talk a little bit about the Dolphins, because they continue to beat up on bad teams, Jason. 45-15 against the Commanders. They're doing the roller coaster thing, which was cool.
Yeah. Well.
But what do we know about a 9-3 Dolphins team that continues to beat up on bad teams? Are you sold? I mean, has anything changed for you from last week except the fact that we think Tyreek Hill's going to get to 2,000 yards?
Yeah, it hasn't. Except that it was good to see the full complement of running backs, and you can tell in the second half. Yeah, and in the second half, when you knew they were just probably going to run the ball because it was a massive lead, they still were able to run the ball effectively. And I think. Look, I think the head coach, who was not a long time, was an assistant coach in Washington a long time ago under Kyle Shanahan, and all those kids, they were kids at the time, left with a bad taste in their mouth. I do think he wanted, even though Dan Snyder's not there anymore, I think he wanted to send a little message. And I think he also wanted to get both running backs into the end zone. He wanted to play with some stuff in the red zone and get a lot of guys comfortable with finishing drives. You had the explosive plays to Tyreek Hill early, and then they got explosion plays in the run game, and they got touchdowns out of the run game. Just them winning, it was not a great day in Washington. It wasn't a horrible weather game, but weather was a factor for that team in December to win a road game. I just think it's a little something for them. But Washington is such a terrible operation, and Ron Rivera is such a feckless head coach right now. The way he managed that game was disgusting. So I don't know, Carl. They did what they should have done. They took care of business. They took care of business quickly and easily. What I think it really did for them more than anything else is they played really a half of football. So it was almost like a late season mini bye. You know what I mean? And you've got other teams play they're going to play Tennessee this week, right? Tennessee played 5 quarters of football, fighting for their lives against a divisional opponent to come up short when they thought they had it won in overtime, right? And Miami played a half against Washington. Is Miami now going to smash Tennessee on national television next Monday night? Probably. Will they cover that? It opened at 12. By the time we're talking now, it's probably 14, maybe 14 and a half. Will they still cover that? Probably. Will we learn a ton about them? Probably not. But they've got a game coming up on New Year's Eve against the Ravens. And that could be the battle for the 1 seed in the AFC, especially if this Trevor Lawrence injury is even fairly significant. And if the Bills beat the Chiefs this week, like I think they will, then, now you've got the Ravens playing the Rams. Be a tough game. They probably should win, right? They get Jacksonville without, in all likelihood, Lawrence. They have to go to San Francisco. That'll be tough. Christmas night. And then Christmas Eve, that Miami-Baltimore game could be effectively the AFC regular season championship game.
Yeah.
I think we'll learn something about, the Miami Dolphins there. I know their D coordinator, Vic Fangio, has had trouble handling this offense in the past, has had trouble handling a quarterback as mobile and sort of, wily as Lamar Jackson. And I also think the Ravens are going to be running the ball a lot down the stretch. Like right now, Lamar Jackson has one game this season over 65 rushing yards. It wouldn't surprise me if he's got over 65 rushing yards in 4 of the last 5 games, and he still goes over 1,000 yards rushing. Like that just might be where the pendulum swings with no Mark Andrews for them and some of their limitations in the passing game. So look, Miami just keep winning. If Miami just keeps winning games, it doesn't matter what it looks like, they're going to be in great shape. And yeah, they managed to have a game done by halftime. All the pressure was off. They could play around, tweak things, get some backups in there, get the cheetah off his feet. So good for them. Washington, that's a disaster. The way Washington's played at home this year in particular has been almost offensive. I mean, remember the Thursday night debacle against Chicago, finding a way to lose to the Eagles in a game and you thought they were going to win. The 6 turnover game against the Giants. Should have refund people their money.
Well, everybody knows it, right? Ron Rivera's done. They're going to go in a different direction, and they are certainly going to. The new ownership is going to bring in their guys, and it'll be a process. But I think everybody's excited about the new ownership and the direction of where that may go. Yeah, and listen, Ron firing Jack Del Rio, reactionary, yes, but the defense was still terrible,
long overdue.
Yeah, so it really didn't make a difference as to how this played out with the Commanders. I think as we take a look at what happened with the 49ers and the Eagles, and that game, the hype, the buildup, we said it last week, Jason, and then the 49ers just go in there and kick ass. I mean, it wasn't even close, right? I mean, now I get it. The Eagles are in this hella stretch of games, including Cowboys coming up this week. The 49ers had some more rest, but are they that much better than the Eagles?
Well, we told you last week that the way that thing set up, San Francisco was the healthier team. They were the more rested team. That game it frankly was bigger for them than the Eagles, and they were going to win. Now, did I think they were going to absolutely smoke them? I like that. I didn't. But it was clear that was something of a regular season Super Bowl for the 49ers. And we said it's kind of like the Eagles going to Arrowhead a month ago or 3 weeks ago to start this gauntlet of games you referenced, and how you could tell that was no ordinary regular season game for them, especially for a team that isn't even in their conference. So, San Francisco, when Trent Williams plays, and now that they've added Chase Young to that mix, yeah, right now they have the best talent in football. They are the best team in football. Something happens to an offensive lineman, things could change there in an instant. But when you looked at how the Eagles have struggled to defend slot players, when you look at how they've struggled to defend receivers out in space, some pitch plays and end arounds and reverses, and then you look at the best yak team in the NFL, right? What Debo does in space with yak and McCaffrey. The question was going to be, could the Eagles offense keep pace? And it reached a point in the second half where it was clear they couldn't. And they almost, and then they're losing players too. And it was almost like they just needed to, right? They needed to get through that game. Like they need to get through that game. They need to lick their wounds. They need to talk to their medical staff, right? You need to reassess.
Yeah.
They brought in Leonard, right? They brought in a linebacker. I think they're going to bring in Zach Ertz. Like, is that going to be a huge help? Maybe not, but it should help somewhat. And then, we'll see what they can do against Dallas. This is Dallas' Super Bowl. It's still a big game for the Eagles, but this is Dallas' Super Bowl. And Dallas' defense, man, gives me a lot of pause. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens in this one. If Dak is going to win an MVP award, it's got to start with beating teams like the Philadelphia Eagles in this big spot. I thought the Eagles are going to the playoffs. I think the Eagles are going to be a tough out in the playoffs. Can the Eagles get a little healthier down the stretch? I think that'll be critical. And then, certain matchups for them are going to be better than others. And you have to be concerned about them on the back end. You just do. The Byard acquisition was nice, but they probably need a corner also. And Slay has been in the league for a while, and maybe he's a half step slower. Like, It's just not what it was last year. And now you're seeing people run, like, now you see people run on them too. And that was sort of the calling card of that defense for a while, but they've suffered some injuries up front as well. So we'll see. But San Francisco, this healthy,
Dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot of holes. You could run on them for a while. Not so much lately. And frankly, when the offense is cranking, you better run on them in the first quarter, because once you're behind by double digits, forget about it. The pass rush now is legit. Bosa's healthy. Chase Young's, giving them all they could have hoped for. And the offense with Trent Williams is just at another level. When Shanahan has the whole playbook open to him, it's at another level. And now they're back home this week, and Purdy averages 300 yards per game at home. He averages damn close to 3 touchdown passes per game at home. He's got a quarterback rating of like 132.8 at home. Yeah, you better hope they don't get the 1 seed. You better hope they don't get the 1 seed if you're in the NFC. If I'm the Eagles, that's the one thing that would give me a little concern. Them coming to us in January, maybe we get some snow, we get some weird stuff they're not used to, but having to go out there, that's going to be tough ass.
I agree. Here's the crazy thing about all of this, and then we want to get into this MVP chase, because we're talking about Purdy, and all of a sudden now he looks like the front runner. The Eagles, or the Niners, should I say, against the Eagles, they ran 446 yards. They threw for 310, and they converted 72% on third downs on Sunday. That's domination. And then, whether or not you guys realize this, Purdy's only 23 years old. He's just starting this thing. If he's this damn efficient and consistent, this is only going to get better, Jason. And now you're talking about, okay, Shanahan's got his guy, and he'll fill in the blanks as guys come and go. Now, all of a sudden, you could be talking about the 49ers making a run here over the next 5 or 6 years. Purdy is just so damn efficient. And so, the crazy thing is he did this on the road. That I'm with you. If they get home field, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, for a quarterback still that young, who got hurt on the road in the playoffs last year, they get that week off for old Trent Williams, and now they know we only have to win 2 home games to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to play a hell of a football game. You're going to have to play a damn near perfect game. Because you look at the NFC field, right? I mean, whoever those 2 teams are that go in there are going to have to play lights out. You can't have penalties. You can't have false starts. Nothing. You can't have somebody fair catch a ball where they don't need to. You got to be perfect. That's going to be a tough ask.
Is this the real Jordan Love? Did we see the real Jordan Love against the Chiefs?
Well, if it is, man, can you lightning strike 3 times, huh? If it is,
it's crazy, right? Favre, Rodgers, and now
it's where you get them too, right? It's Favre in a trade from Atlanta for a 3. You know what I mean? It's Aaron Rodgers after he's been sitting in the green room 18 hours, right? And it's the end of the first round, and let's break his fall. You know what I mean? And Jordan Love, it's trading up into the back end of the first round, worried he won't be there day 2, when a lot of people thought he'll be there day 2. Look, you saw him really early in the year against Atlanta. I kind of felt like he came out of the gates hot. People got 2 weeks, 3 weeks of film on him. He went through a month stretch where I'm like, I don't know if this guy's a starting quarterback in this league. I just don't see it. They don't tap into the athleticism as much as I thought they would. I don't see it in the pocket, and I don't see it in off-script plays. And then the last month, he's just started to gradually hit another level. And the last couple of weeks, he's played really good football, but you're like, it's the Chargers, you know what I mean? Or it's the Bears. They can't play a lick of defense. So this was a different ask. And I mean, he outplayed Patrick Mahomes.
Plain and simple.
outplayed Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the throws, the ball placement, the changing arm angles, the comfort throwing on the run, manipulating the pocket, holding, like at times holding the ball longer than you'd like, but still not egregious to the point where it's a guaranteed sack. I didn't see it coming. I didn't. And if he can sustain anything close to this, now losing Watson's tough. I mean, the margins I think are still a little thin in terms like you're down Jones, right? Who would have caught a ton of balls in the screen game and everything else. And Dillon's holding up as the sort of every down back. But he plays such a bruising style that you're always a little worried there. Now you're down a kid who's shown he's got an ability to score. He shows up in the end zone. You take him away. But the defense is playing much better than it was early in the season as well. Now you added Darnell Savage, a real kind of interesting hybrid defender, can play safety, can play slot corner, can play linebacker. The pass rush has ramped up through the course of the season. They got people at Lambeau believing again, and that looks like you're walking into a hornet's nest there now. Yeah, Carl, they have done a total 180. It's just been such a weird year. Go back 6 weeks and look at them. Look at the Broncos. You know what I mean? Look at the Vikings. I mean, hell, 6 weeks ago, the 49ers were going into their 3-game tailspin, right? You could really there's 32 teams in this league. There's probably 8 of them that 6 weeks ago feels like a season ago. It feels like that's not even the version of them, for better or worse. You know what I mean? That's available this next coming Sunday or Monday or whatever. They have flipped the script on who they were or who we thought they were or could be. And this group is right up there. I mean, they were losing games at home. I mean, remember, they went 6 weeks, they couldn't score in the first half of games. They couldn't score a touchdown in the first half of games, even at home. And now they're going into halftime having teams under their thumb.
All right. Who's the MVP of the league? Is it Brock Purdy? Is it Jalen Hurts? Is just spent time talking about how good Brock Purdy looked in this amazing game against the Eagles. I think his chances of winning the MVP at this point in the season are as good as anybody. I cannot discount Dak, but you said it. Is he going to lay an egg against the Eagles this weekend? I don't know. We've got a chance to see. But the 49ers play the Seahawks at home, the Cardinals on the road, Ravens at home, Commanders on the road, and then the Rams to close out the season. And I think Purdy's going to throw for 300 yards in all of those games, maybe except the Ravens game, just because of the way they get after the quarterback. Is he the MVP of the league right now?
I think it is what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I just look at the standings, and if you're making a wager, look at the team you think is going to be the 1 seed. Look at the schedule like you just did, and weigh it out, because I think it's going to be the one. If the Eagles shrug all this off and they beat the Cowboys and they hold everybody off for the 1 seed, unless Brock Purdy starts throwing for 4 and 5 touchdowns a game, I think it's going to be Jalen Hurts. I think it's going to come down to Hurts in that scenario, in which case you're looking at a 5th seed or a 4th seed, Dak Prescott. I think you're looking at Hurts versus who's the 1 seed. Look, Tua played a great football game. Tua will probably play a great football game against Tennessee.
Yep.
Tua will probably play 3 or 4 great football games. What does he do against Baltimore? If he beats Baltimore, and that game probably gets flexed to prime time and everybody sees it, and he beats Baltimore there in week 17, and the Dolphins go into week 18 with the 1 seed clinched right around the time when everybody's voting, in a week 18 where a lot of games won't matter. Will it come down to Tua versus, in that scenario, Purdy? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. This is a year where no one's having a generational season. No quarterback. They just aren't. Mahomes isn't having the best Mahomes season. Josh Allen isn't having the best. But just if you're telling me there's a wild card quarterback, right? Because for me, Dak is a wild card quarterback.
Okay.
I don't think they're passing the Eagles. If you're telling me there's a wild card quarterback who could win the MVP and I could throw one dart, I'd throw it at Josh Allen.
Wow. It's going to be interesting and a lot of fun here over the next few weeks as we kind of figure things out. By the way, Ravens coming off the bye. I know you mentioned it. The adjustment Todd Monken's going to make with no Andrews. What happens there with this offense? I'm just curious.
Look, they've had a time to self-scout here and look around. Their left tackle, Ronnie Stanley, is not having a good season. I don't believe he's healthy. Well, he is not healthy. He's missed a lot of time. He's been on the injury report. He's got an ankle that's repaired at least twice, really probably 3 times because there was another little cleanup besides the 2 reconstruction type deals. He's got a knee that's been howling since the summer. And they've got arguably the toughest schedule in the NFL left to come.
Remaining, right? Yeah.
They're facing Bosa and Chase Young. They're facing Phillips and Chubb, right, with Miami. They're facing the other Josh Allen in Jacksonville. They got Aaron Donald coming to town this weekend. They got, TJ Watt in week 18, assuming he's healthy. I don't think they can play around with Morgan Moses and Ronnie Stanley, their tackles, neither of whom looks remotely comfortable in pass protection, especially on the road. I don't think they can play around with that when the main thing in their passing game isn't there. When the guy who catches all the touchdown passes and catches all the first down passes and dominates third down for them, Mark Andrews ain't playing until maybe deep into the playoffs, if even then. I just think they've got this kid, Keaton Mitchell, who is as explosive as they come, and there's no tread on the tires, and you've been holding him back, but what are you holding him back for now? And you've got Lamar in a year where he's rushing less than ever. And as I said, only 1 game all season over 65 yards rushing. The double-digit rushing games have been few and far between for him this year. I think they're about to crank up. You've got 3 running backs you trust. You've still got a fullback who can come into the mix every now and then. They're starting to activate Zay Flowers in the run game, horizontal run game, more like they should. Even a Devin Duvernay. They can get to 40 rushing attempts without anybody being overexerted. Without anybody being they can't. And they might have to. And they probably should. They're the last 6 weeks, they were already leading the league or they were right up there with Denver in percent of the time that you run.
Yeah.
Lamar's workload on the ground has always ramped up from December on. And I know he's with a different coordinator now, and you can run the ball on their defense. As great as that defense is, it's not good against the run. And if they're left out, we've seen them give up. They have a 10-minute drive to the Cleveland Browns, right? We saw them give up a 9-minute drive to the 17-play, 9+ minute drive to the San Diego Chargers. They can't afford that defense getting worn out. I think the Ravens become even more of a time of possession team. I do. And I think Lamar Jackson rushing props, start looking at the overs. And I think this Keaton Mitchell kid, he's got to touch the ball. It's been 8 to 10 times a game. It's probably got to be at least 12, 12 to 15.
He's so explosive, man.
And he's small, and I understand what they're doing, and they don't totally love him in pass protection. I get all that, but it is a unique weapon. And
it is.
When I'm telling you, when they get him out there and they run 11 personnel and they get a light box and there's him and Lamar in the pistol and there's holes everywhere. I mean, that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing to defend. And they can also run some looks where it looks like it's going to be a jumbo package, and they get the fullback out there, and maybe they get an extra offensive lineman as well. But then this kid's still able to get it's an outside run. It looks like it's set up to be inside, and all he does is get the edge and forget about it. There's all those bodies clustered in the box. Few more design screen passes to him, little pop plays, put him in the slot, bam, bubble screen. I think you're going to see a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I am shocked that they haven't used him more, but the way that he is just able to get out there and just outrun everybody. It's crazy. So I'm curious to see what the Ravens do. Like, they're either going to take off, I believe, and just show everybody, hey, we are the real deal with this tough schedule remaining, or they're going to take a step back. And I want to see them come out of the bye week. Harbaugh traditionally has been good, right, out of the bye week. So I want to see that. Jason, always fun, man, to talk NFL and in the huddle. Guys, subscribe, like us, tell your friends, and more importantly, don't miss an episode as we're counting down now to the playoffs. Every week from this point on, guys, big. Yeah. And we're going to be all about it. Baldy's going to join us on Thursday. We'll talk more about the Cowboys and more about the upcoming matchups. And follow Jason, by the way. Read him in the Washington Post and check him out. Make sure you follow him on social media. I'm Carl Dukes. Everybody have a great day. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, buddy.